Okay, and I've got the meeting recording for you.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Evergreen Informational Update meeting. I'm Lisa Merrill. I'm the Assistant Information Services Manager here at ODES. Usually this is led by Leslie Miska, but she's on vacation, a much needed vacation. So I've got Nancy Kitchen joining us as well. She is new to our team. She's a management analyst too, and welcome, Nancy. So, as I mentioned, this is our last meeting of this series. We've been live now on Evergreen since February, so we're doing very well. This is 7 months in. We've moved to our Evergreen process has moved to an operations and maintenance phase. What that means is that our vendor will work with our vendor, and instead of doing a 2-week sprint cycle for issue remediation, we're now on a monthly issue remediation cycle. So you'll see changes come out on a monthly basis, and we'll continue to update you through the newsletter that we send out. So we didn't send one out for August. And so we're going to combine August and September and send that out at the beginning of October. So that will include any changes that have been made to the system, which are few and far between right now. We've kind of cleared up most of the major ones. We still have the attachments issue, but we're working on that. I think that should be coming out within the next couple of months to be able to upload attachments. So I wanted to let everybody know also is to continue to submit your tickets through the Evergreen ticketing system. And if you don't know where that link is, let me know in the chat, and then we can go ahead and send that to you as well. So I don't really have a lot to report this morning, but I wanted to go ahead and open this up for question and answers if anybody has any questions, and see if we can help you out with that. So, as usual, if you could just put your questions in the chat, or the questions and answers, I'm sorry. Q&A. Let's see, I already have 2 in there. All right. How long will a new location take to show up in Evergreen? I have a location that was approved in MIMS 2 weeks ago and is still not in Evergreen. So, Jennifer, that is something that comes across in our feed, on a nightly feed. So, you say that it was approved in MIMS, and it takes a little bit for it to come through. So, if you could send us an email through evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov, and we can double check to see what's going on with that location. All right. Phil Sebra, 2 questions. First, regarding the PA utilization report, would it be possible to add the ability to search by one member's name rather than the much wider criteria that needs to be exported to Excel inserted to reach one person's information? Second, so before I go to the second one, would it possible to add the ability to search by one member's name rather than the much wider criteria that needs to be exported to Excel and sorted to reach one? Possible. I can take that back to our report writer, and we can see what we might be able to do in that instance, Phil. That's a great suggestion. That way you can just look at one client at a time, but I can double check to see if that's a possibility. The second question is, notifications all say MIMS has approved a prior authorization line. However, that's not always the case. I've had notifications run the whole PA utilization report, filter to that person, and still can't figure out what was done. Is it possible to add more info on the notification screen regarding the specifics of action taken? It would be so helpful to have the details. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. It's very generic. It doesn't tell you anything. That we can put that into a future enhancements bucket, but right now that's unfortunate how those notifications run. But you're right, it would make more sense if it told you information. So I'll take those 2 things back to our team, and we will look to see if we can work on those future enhancements as well. All right, next question. 3 of our case managers have recently, this one looks like it might be an Emily or Donna or a Lexi question, and I don't know if they're online or not. I'm going to read it out loud and hopefully one of them will jump in. 3 of our case managers have recently had the same issue of not being able to complete a waiver application in Evergreen because the form won't allow the cost estimate to be attached. We can enter the document in the attachment form, but will not allow an entry under category. The dropdown shows no option available, and so we are unable to finish attaching the document and therefore unable to complete the application. 2 of the case managers who had this issue submitted a ticket, and someone went in and fixed the problem for them. I have submitted a ticket last Friday morning and so far have not received a response. Is this a glitch that can be fixed, or is there a workaround? Okay, so this is more about adding. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's an attachment issue. We are aware that they can't attach the cost estimate under a cost estimate category because there's no drop down menu for them to do that. And unfortunately, this ticket that she submitted must have been missed because when they do get to us, we do make that attachment for them.
Yes. So please, if you could, Cynthia, just I can go in and see if we can find the ticket, maybe. If not, can you just go ahead and email?
You can email it directly to me.
Yes, please. Email it to the evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov box. And then that will be sent to us so that our team, the information services team, and we can go ahead and upload that for you. All right, Verna DeShane. I have a question regarding reclassification. We have a consumer whose reclassification ended on July 9th. How long does it take? I've reached out to O's and the caseworker. I've been told that everything has been submitted. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Alexi, Donna, they may not be on.
No, I don't see them on.
Yeah. So Verna, I don't have the answer to that question for you, but what I can do is I can forward this on to that team and have them look into that. If you,
She could also, I think they could do a ticket that if they have the right category would take it to them.
yes, that's
Since
true.
it's a specific reclassification issue.
Yeah, Verna, if you'd like to do that, that'd probably be the quickest way to do that is to enter a ticket. Nance, could you put the ticket?
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that.
Miranda already did. It's actually in the chat. So if you click on the chat, Miranda put the link to the Evergreen ticket submission form, and it's right there. So you can click right on that link, Verna, and that will take you right to the ticketing system. And you can go ahead and enter the information into that ticket system, and it will go to who it needs to go to. And someone should be able to get back to you soon.
Miranda, is there a reclassification topic?
There is.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. So that's the one they would choose.
Yep, it goes right to that team.
Yep, thank you.
Yes. Suzanne Lambert asked the same question about attachments. Is that the same process? Is to submit a ticket? Yes, that's the current process at this time is to submit a ticket, and then we will go ahead. Someone from our team or from Donna's team, Donna Benson's team, can go ahead and add that. Okay. Maybe you could help me with this one, Nancy. Shared living days are inputted by days. However, Evergreen requires hours per week. What am I to do to correct the process?
Shared living, Angela, are you going to answer that?
Yeah, I was going to pop in and say that it's the days, the number of days per year.
Yes, it's days per year. So it's not even days per 6 months. They would like days per year. So if it's someone who gets 24/7, 365, and then if it's not 24/7, whatever amount of days that they're going to receive shared living for that year should be entered into that.
Thank you. Kyra Campbell, how come on my dashboard I can only see clients that first name start with A and goes to C? However, Evergreen won't let me see the other clients unless I go to search.
Sure.
That's a great question, Kyra. I don't
think the dashboard is working correctly still, as far as I know. Now, I was not here. I've been out for 2 months. It was a 2 month hiatus, so I'm not sure what's happened in that 2 months, but before I left, the dashboard was not working correctly. You only saw a portion of your caseload, and it's just not pulling them all up.
Nance, can we take an action item on that one so that you can do a little bit of research on that so that we can enter a ticket for that if it's not working properly? Megan Meehan, do you have an update on when we will be able to have 2 revised BCPs open at once? We are actually working on that, and I think it's due out soon. Like, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong.
I heard that too, Lisa, that was in testing, and that with the next deploy where we have our fingers crossed it's working.
Yes.
And will be available.
So we had a deploy Friday to production. So we won't have another one until October. So hopefully when the October release, we'll have that in there. I'm anticipating it. Okay. Carol Kane. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody up here. Carol, just an FYI, notifications are not always working correctly. Excuse me. I get one saying a SIP invitation and it is not ready for me to submit. I sometimes do not get a notification when it is ready for my SIP. And yes, like Philippa, MIM's notification comes through, but there's not a change or effective date. So I'm not sure why one is showing. Yeah, notifications are very vague and they're meant to be super helpful, but they don't seem to be as helpful as we would want them to be. So I'm not quite sure why the SIPs are.
Can I take a stab at that real quick?
Yes,
I think
please do.
so. And I obviously, without having a two-way conversation with Carol, I'm not sure exactly what she means by they're not ready for her to submit. We do know that there are some issues with SIPs where people are not linking the goals prior to doing this invitation for SIPs. That would lend me to believe that that would come through as an invitation to do a SIP when the SIP's not ready to be entered. So I feel like that might be the main issue here when a SIP is not ready for someone to enter it, when they've been notified that there's a SIP for them to enter. It's because something didn't go in the right order prior to that invitation.
Yeah. Can I speak to that for just a second? That is probably one of the biggest tickets that we get into our mailbox, is that the provider can't see the goals. Yep. They can't see the goals because they weren't linked before the provider was invited to submit a SIP. So case managers, when you are doing your plan, you need to, after it comes back from state review, link your goals and then go down and invite the provider to submit a SIP. If you do the invitation, if you put the provider's name into that service before you link the goals will not go into the SIP.
A second issue when it comes to SIPs not being ready when you get a notification is likely when in some of our change types, when you get to the SIP, like if you do a change type and you get to the SIP, sometimes you need to revise that SIP, because when you do an annual plan or revise for an annual plan, those SIPs come across, but I believe they come across in a plan implemented, or I'm not sure. I'm still working and getting my head around how these each change requires certain steps. Some require you to revise a SIP, some require you not to revise a SIP. You know, if you're having a change, you did your annual plan, you're doing a change in service, you have 4 authorizations or 4 services in that plan, and you only want to change one. There's a process that we need to follow, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around that and understand the best way to do that as we're watching and working with people. So it's just, I would say just to be very aware of your SIPs when you do your revisions, whether it's an annual, a change type for a change in service, a change in SIP, a change in goals. Really check those SIPs before you invite, or you may have to revise to re-invite the provider. Just some things to think about.
A question from Cynthia Talbot, and it's regarding removing old strengths when revising PCPs. You submitted your question through DHHS Evergreen, which I did on 8/27. I never received a response. Can someone help with this? Are you aware of that, Nancy?
I'm trying to read it to get a better understanding again.
Perhaps we might want to reach out to Cynthia and do like a one-on-one or something.
Yeah, because I would have to go back in and test it, but I'm pretty sure you can change. You can remove barriers, add barriers, remove needs, add needs within the PCP process. Even I think ones that carry over.
Strength.
Yeah, I believe you can strengths, barriers, and needs. I believe
Yeah.
you can modify those in the PCP process. I would have to go in and take a quick look, but
Yes, for sure. Cynthia, we'll look for that email and we'll look at that, and someone will get back to you on that. And if we,
if we have to set up a one-on-one session, we'll do that with you, Cynthia.
yeah. Okay. Is it true we do not trash can the past SIPs in an annual plan, as it can cancel the current service, closing the SIP? I have 3 that had this happen. Others did not. I thought we cleared all the old services out to make new ones for new SIPs in the annual plan. I am told I was wrong. Gary Corson. So the old SIPs that carry forward, they should be in plan completed, correct? So there's no reason to clear them out necessarily.
no, but like I think they come over as plan completed, but at the annual, you'd want to revise them because you want providers to update the way they're providing their services to meet those goals.
We
would
never
not close them.
Or trash can them.
Right. We should, right. We should be, I think that the 3 dot ellipses, if you hit that, I mean, I'm obviously not in Evergreen right now, but if you choose the 3 dot ellipses, they should give you the revise option. And if you hit that revise button, it should allow the provider to go in. That means that you made no changes to the goals, you made no changes, everything's just carrying over. Then you revise it and it should open it to them to be able to go in and update their services and the way they provide those services to meet the goals.
But to speak to her other piece of this question, you don't want old services in your current plan. If they're already end dated, you don't need those ones. You can make new ones.
Right.
Right, Nancy?
I got lost for a second there.
Okay. So say a plan has in services and supports all of the ones that, like, you revise it, and all of the ones that were in there from the previous year are in there. You would take those out and put the ones that the person is requesting for this current annual plan.
If they don't change, you don't need to take them out. If nothing is changing, you don't need to, you just adjust the dates. The dates should adjust when you change that to an annual plan, and you change those dates anyway.
Okay.
So when you're revising for an annual and you set your effective dates, when you go into those service reports, they automatically should have those effective dates in there. Obviously check to make sure, but
I haven't seen one yet, so I don't know. Most everything is brand new.
Right.
And for this year.
Yeah. So for a revision though, it will bring those service and supports as they were in that previous plan into the current plan. If you make no changes, then you don't need to change those service reports. You need to revise. You need to make sure the dates are what they should be, but that should happen automatically.
Okay.
But then you would need to revise those SIPs so that they would allow for the providers.
For the editing.
If there are any changes though, like if you do have to add a goal or change a goal, or you're doing some goals, you're going to want to go into that service and support, and you're going to want to minus out the provider that's providing that service. You're going to go back into the goals, and you're going to go relink the goals to that service so that those new goals get added to the SIP so that they can address that when the provider fills out the SIP. Then you go back and re-add the provider,
Yes.
and those SIPs are updated.
Yes.
It's very complicated, and I hope to get to a place now that we're as far as we are into it to where we can put out some guidance. But again, I'm still learning. I can't put out a guidance unless I fully understand.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that
Correct.
kind of Meehan actually said, is there written guidance about the SIP issues? Nancy just mentioned that would be very helpful. This is one area that she's a little foggy. And so I don't know as if we have any, except for like the workflow process in Evergreen. We don't necessarily have a business process around the SIPs. Maybe that's something we need to think about.
We're
Yeah.
creating a list of those things, and and Megan, I think we're a little foggy on that right now too. And so directions will come when we understand fully how it works. And in each, as we go through this first year, I'm sure there will be some other things that come up that in the process, that we're going to have to understand first before we can put forth some directions in it.
Yeah, for
And-
sure.
And am I speaking about those annual plans and how the SIPs work with those annual plans and how the services come across? It's because I've worked with people in little meetings, and I've seen as we've worked with them how it works. That's how I gather my intel.
Yep. Same.
So I'm still in the gathering process.
So Suzanne Lambert says that she has had a PCP that has been in state review for 43 days. She submitted a ticket on Friday and hadn't had a response. So,
So her other piece to that too, can I speak to that for a second, is the 90-day review. I'm going to make a request of everybody who's a case manager on here. When you are doing a 90-day review, please do that separately from any change. That is intended to be done on the date that it's due. So just complete your 90-day review, gather your information, put it into the goal progress, and anything else that needs to be updated or added to that for information what's current in a 90-day review, and go all the way through the workflow and hit plan completed. Okay.
Then
revise and submit your change request.
We are aware, and this is something I brought to Lisa last week, and it's going to be added to our enhancement list, is that it's not really working well the way we have it set up inside of the PCP. We do a change type, and it's time for a 90-day review. And it was intended so that you could do both of those simultaneously. But now we've realized it's not an option really to do a 90-day review and a change type at the same time, because it will delay the 90-day review. So we are aware of that, and we've explored some options, and we'll put something on the enhancement list to change that moving forward at some point, hopefully.
yes.
But at this point, the direction is 90-day review first, change in service once that plan is complete, because you can go right through, complete it within an hour. You can go right through it, complete it within an hour, and then you do a revision and do the change.
Thank you. So Karen,
I was going to say, as far as that submitted ticket that's been in 43 days, they'd have to reach out to, it might be though, they might want to check the change type, because if it's a 90-day review only, checked off as a 90-day review, they're not going to look at it. They're not going to touch it, because that doesn't require state review.
yeah, so that's a good thing to check. If you haven't heard anything, probably by noontime today, I would reach out to the waiver team.
Check the change type.
That first, yes, exactly. So Karen Corson has some questions around services and support for the annual plan. So do we do a new services report for the annual plan or change the dates as they would run out? They do not adjust.
So so this person went in, revised the plan, changed their effective dates in the overview. And when they hit save and next, they went to the service reports and it did not change the dates. Is what they're saying?
It sounds like that's what they're saying.
Okay. If that happened, then I would go inside of those services reports and change those dates.
Yeah.
I would not close one and add another one. I would just go into the ones that are in there and I'd open them up. I would probably take the connection for the provider out because we want that to send another SIP. It's an annual plan. You want a new SIP to be sent to the provider. So you could go in and use the little minus button, take the provider out, and then go in and change the dates, make sure everything's all the way it should be, hours, everything's all looking good. And then re-add that provider back and it should trigger a new SIP to be one in progress.
All right, here's another one.
I'm gonna have to go look because I'm quite certain that if you change those dates and hit save and next, it edits the dates inside the service and support. So I will have to look at that.
Definitely, we can take a look at that.
You definitely have to hit save and next though. You can't just jump over to the right-hand column and then move to the service supports without hitting save and next.
All right. Let's see. What do we got here? Some great questions today. I like it. If you're doing a 90-day review and adding AT only as change in service and goal progress updates, but no other changes, would a provider have to enter a new SIP? So what Nancy just said earlier was you would do it 2 different iterations. You do a 90-day and then you do a change in service. Correct, Nance?
Yeah, can you read that again? Because I'm not, my questions are not in the same order as yours are. So I'm trying to follow along, but I'm not doing very well at it. So can you read the question
I'm down at Christina Johnson. If you are doing a 90-day review and adding AT only as change in service and goal progress updates, but no other changes, would a provider have to enter a new SIP?
They definitely should not be doing those things together because adding AT is a change in service.
Right.
So
that has to go through state review. So you don't want to sit and wait on your 90-day review because those can be pushed right through.
Right. So you'd want to do that 90-day review first, right through, complete it, get the plan completed, and that should become your active plan immediately. And when it becomes your active plan, you go and revise that plan to do a change in service, adding AT services. And when it does, I believe AT services do not require a SIP though.
Correct.
So when you do that, add your AT services, and you see that there's a SIP up there, do we put that right to plan implemented? Do we have them go through, or just have them leave it alone? Angela, because it's not required to have a SIP for that service, but if you
not required,
but if you don't put it to plan completed though, that SIP will
you can't because if there are the orange dots remain in a SIP, you can't do anything with it. So just leave it alone. Just it's there and that's it.
Okay.
Let's see.
And Kyra, yes, we have a committee that is working diligently on QA forms that will match Evergreen.
Suzanne Lambert, I can't have 2 PCP open at once if it's still under state review. And I think Suzanne just answered as well that the one that she has a change type of change in services. So I told her to reach out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa, mine keeps jumping all around. I think every time something gets added, it just goes right to the top. So let's go back.
And that's the same thing, Megan, is that you're not going to have 2 revised plans open at once if you complete your 90-day review.
Right.
Again, you select 90-day review, you do your review, enter all your information in, and then you move it through the workflow and set it to plan completed. That becomes your new active plan. Then you revise that one. So it's the only one that you'll have open and do your change.
Karen Corson, when I have changed the dates, the agency does not have the ability to enter the SIP. I've had to do new services, then they can see it.
I would,
We're gonna look into this,
oh,
Karen. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna check this out.
we might have to put a big block of time on the schedule, Angela, just to go through all the different processes with
Yeah.
SIPs.
Yeah.
Maybe Uday and I can do that next week, grab a big chunk of time and one of us can grab screenshots while the other one is walking through it with our
Exactly.
test people.
We can do that.
So I'm answering Jennifer Connelly regarding the location in Evergreen. Yeah, it does take a long time so the time from MIMS, and even though they've told you that it's good to go, it takes a while for that to process over to Evergreen. Providing services since July 1st. That seems very long. So with no payment. So if you could actually just send it directly to me, the location, and my email address is lisa.merrill@maine.gov. And I will look into that one in particular because that seems like an awful long time. Not saying I'm gonna be able to expedite it any, but I could at least do some investigatory work. I have been closing SIPs that generate for AT. I don't know what that means, Christina.
So I know what she's saying. She's saying that when she does an AT service and support, it generates a SIP and she goes up and closes it, which again, I think I would want to talk to Day about this only because my concern is that when it's AT assessments, it's a one-time service. So that makes total sense to go in, write that service supports for an AT assessment, get that SIP up there, close it, because you don't want that to carry over anyway. When you have AT transmission, like when they're doing year after year, like the cost for a laptop or the fees for internet or whatever, I'm thinking that if we don't do something with that SIP, that the service will drop off. So they'll have to re-add the service the next year. So I just want to do quite a bit more research on SIPs and services and different scenarios of annuals versus changes and really go get at this. I'll get the transcript from Miranda from these questions. Can I get that, Miranda? Like all these questions so that when I'll go through and highlight the SIP ones, and I'm going to put it on our schedule for Angela, Uday, and I to take a crack at doing a SIP guide.
Yes.
So
Yes,
that
I'll
we
pull the
can give
report
some
of
guidance.
everything that's entered into this Q&A
And
chat.
it's all, this is why it's so difficult. It's all very situational. So AT assessments, one thing, AT transmissions, another. You know, an annual is different than a change, and a change in SIP is different than a change in goals, and everything has different requirements. And so it's very situational. So try and keep that guide as simple and easy to follow is what's probably going to be the biggest barrier.
Yes.
Where people are going to get confused and they're going to think this change requires this type of so I'm very committed to making something that works, but I have to understand it first.
Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Angela. And thank you, everybody. So we only had this meeting until 8:30. So we did get through most of the questions. I think Kyra has one last question. It's just a statement to Nancy. So if you have any questions and if you have any problems, please go through the Evergreen ticketing system. That is what, if you need one-on-one assistance, like if you need someone to help you with something's not working correctly or anything like that, go through the ticketing system. Our team, Nancy and Udaya, are still reaching out to case managers and doing one-on-ones with folks. So we haven't stopped that. So if you really need some assistance like that, just let us know and we can help everybody out. And Nancy, you got one last thing?
Yeah, I want to answer Kyra. I know it was directly me and I tried to type the answer, but I hit the wrong button. So yes, for anything that's a one and done, it's the same process as assessment. So purchasing equipment is a one and done. You don't need to carry that SIP. I would go, if closing it works, then close it. But if it's a transmission or something where you're doing an annual updates or anything that you want to keep on there ongoing, that would need something done. I think you'd want to put that SIP somehow, get it to plan of minutes so that the service stayed. But again, I'm going to do some more research on that to make
Yeah,
sure.
and it just to kind of let everybody know as far as if all of the tickets that come into the liaison team, if that mailbox is manned every day from 8 to 4, and if there's anything that whoever's manning it can't answer, they red flag it for me, and I go and check that a couple times a day. And either I will answer you, or if I think that this is something that needs a Zoom meeting, I will set that up. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, everyone. And I hope everybody has a great day. And please use the resources that we have out there for you. This is the last of this meeting series. So we will do individual program. Angela said that, like she said, we'll take that information. If we feel we need a meeting, we'll create one. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.